Welcome to Route 333. I'm going to read a series of questions off. Everybody has their sign where they have yes or no. Everyone will either agree or disagree with the statement. They'll explain why they believe what they believe. Suffering has a purpose.
I think that sometimes pain and hardships can be our greatest teachers. It doesn't mean that it's fair, but I think there is always something to be able to learn through the experiences like that.
I have a saying that I always use is through catastrophe, I master me. And with that, it's like every time that we come across a new thing that is causing suffering to us, if we take that time to really analyze it and understand it, then we're able to learn and grow from that.
I completely agree. And I mean, as humans and as an earth and as a universe, we're constantly evolving and changing. And I think through the dark night of the soul, sometimes we're able to see ourselves more clearly.
I feel like you can definitely learn a lot experiences where you suffer, but I feel like I've also learned just as much by not suffering. And I feel like reducing unnecessary suffering is like a huge thing for me because I'm also like an activist. So I guess that's my biggest reason why I disagree.
Do you think that not suffering makes you weak if you don't suffer in your life?
I don't think it makes you any weaker than any other person. I feel like we can all learn how to be strong in different ways. And I have suffered throughout my life plenty, and I just don't like seeing other people go through hardships. That's a big reason why I started getting into community aid. I just don't like the concept of suffering. So
I like Silver's take on the fact that he doesn't like suffering because he doesn't like seeing other people suffer. So he's like, you can tell what type of a person he is by that.
If you don't feel comfortable answering, you can just leave your card down. Ending a pregnancy is interfering with the soul's journey. Yes or no?
I don't know really what that means, so I'm not going.
Interfering with either your soul or the fetus's soul, if that's what you believe.
If you end it.
Like, are you going to be, is there a consequence from that spiritually?
Yes, if you ask that question,
Yes,
there is
there's
a
a
consequence.
spiritually. But
Yeah. When you end a pregnancy, that you continue to still have that feelings, the emotions, as well as you're still connected to that soul. So bodies may die, but souls live on forever. So you're still connected.
I agree. I think where my do not agree answer comes from is I genuinely fully believe that everything happens divinely how it's meant to. And maybe it wasn't meant for that soul to reach a physical place on earth, and wasn't meant to live that out. And I also believe in like reincarnation, and I think when that soul is ready to live on earth, that pregnancy will be carried out, and the soul will come.
I think the part of that question that made me kind of on the fence was the word interfere. Does it interfere with a soul's journey? And first of all, I believe very strongly in every woman's right to choose. But every action does have a consequence. So whether you choose to continue a pregnancy or not, you are actively interfering in that soul's journey. That doesn't mean that it has like a moral connotation.
I think that everyone, whether you're conservative or whether you're a little bit more liberal on that topic, I think you could agree on both sides that with conservatives, their take is that there is an external consequence of, let's say they're saying you're a murderer, right? That's like an external consequence that everybody thinks you're a murderer. But for liberals, there's more of like an internal consequence when it comes to like your emotions. You have that trauma, lingering on forever. So I think that can go to both sides, political, liberal and conservative when it comes to like abortion or the topic of like the trauma or the consequence of it.
I think also we might be forgetting that there are women that don't want to end their pregnancies that have to due to health situations. And to say that there's a consequence for a woman that wants a baby that's not able to have it is a little harsh. Yes, there is always going to be a grief in some aspect, no matter if it was a one-night stand and an abortion or if she's like really late term in the pregnancy and it's going to come at the cost of her life or the child's life. So I think sometimes we just take things a little bit too seriously.
Do you think ending a life is serious?
Well, I mean, when you get into the situation of women that don't want to have to, what choice do they have? You know, is in the woman's life or in the life of a fetus, you know, like, and also if we're looking at like souls and being limitless, and if we do get to choose what we do in this life before we come down, don't you think that the infants would have a choice and maybe they wanted to be a part of the mother's life for that time period and just that amount of time? I think that sometimes those little souls stick around us, like little Cupid angels in a way. Like when you're a soul, it's love, and that's the frequency of it.
I'm also thinking and speaking for, like you're saying, sometimes women don't want to end it. And so another thing that's unspoken is also about miscarriages. That is very common. That happens. People don't talk about it often. But I also see that as the baby, the soul has came into the body and then has seen, okay, there's healing that needs to be done. This mother is not ready for the baby to come. So sometimes the pregnancies end prematurely where they're not wanting to end it, but it does go back into what we're talking about with suffering, that is then a lesson, or kind of even a wake-up call to get the woman to really understand the health of her body so she can learn those lessons and see what she can do to prepare for that soul that wants to come through.
Cool.
I think that there are some people that are aware now to know that if they did bring a child into this world, it wouldn't have the best life or opportunities. And you have to kind of respect that decision because, I mean, when it comes to like me and not really believing that suffering is like necessary, I would definitely not want to willingly put somebody in a situation that they didn't ask for.
Do you guys think that cancel culture has made it harder or easier to speak about what you believe in?
Harder.
Yes, harder.
When somebody gets canceled, the first thing I want to do is listen to what they have to say, because I believe everyone has a right to free speech. Just because your ideology or your political side doesn't like what they're saying does not give you a right to be silenced.
What we also know is that people from history, some of the most revolutionary thinkers and revolutionary figures in history were wildly disagreed with in public, you know?
I would say I agree that it has made it harder, but I will say on the contrary, because cancel culture was such a huge thing, I think it's kind of dying out now because people are realizing how stupid it is to cancel somebody based off of their beliefs when everybody has different beliefs. Like, you can't cancel somebody for that one thing. So I think so many people are just over it at this point, and now everybody is kind of, not everybody, I can't group everybody, but a lot of people are more inclined to speak on what they believe in now because a lot of people have come to the same agreement that cancel culture is dumb.
It's toxic.
Yeah.
It's not rooted in growth mindset.
Absolutely not.
I kind of feel like when people hear a trigger and then they immediately like block their communication, they block their understanding. And it's really important for us to actually talk to one another, because sometimes when we have what we think are conflicting point of views, that when we get to the root of the matter, we're like, oh, we actually believe the same thing. We're just speaking about it in a different way.
Yes.
What about the other side of cancel culture with men? Canceling men because you hear one rumor about them and then you automatically say, no, cancel him. So if you guys are disagreeing with cancel culture, do you agree with canceling a man?
Depends what they're canceled for.
It definitely depends.
Just like saying it, right? So you see a lot, and it, like, kind of like the Me Too movement, right? So you see all these women coming out saying these things about these men, but then some of them ended up being not true, right? Because they're just trying to cancel that man because they're a man. So if you don't agree with cancel culture, do you agree with just automatically following a woman because she says something about a man?
I don't agree with automatically following anybody. I think I believe in everybody has the same right. You know what I mean? I wouldn't cancel a man just because he's a man. I think there are incredible men on earth that deserve to be heard and understood as well. Yeah, I wouldn't say. I feel like that's pretty specific to cancel men just because they're men. Yeah.
I also feel that there are just some wicked people out there that want to ostracize men, and that's not fair to them. So they could be definitely a righteous man who actually maybe was really loving and caring, but that person who was accusing them or canceling them is coming from a hurt, traumatized background. So that's what they feel is comfortable to them to set those boundaries.
I think it's made it harder to make the decision to speak up about certain things. But I also think it's the motive and the way it's done, I guess. Because if you're just fully canceling the person over something so odd, I don't understand that. If it's being used to publicly shame them, to try and get a better behavior out of them or get them to stop doing something that's wrong, I feel like that might be a good. Yeah.
I believe that our legal system is deeply broken, but I also do believe in due process. Like, you should do your research, hear both sides of the story. Ultimately, the truth will prevail, and hopefully it will prevail, and justice will be served. But I think, at your point, like, yeah, there's definitely some people who are not moving morally by being accusatory, but I also don't think that means that we should,
Like victim blame?
Or, erase the victim's experience for whatever reason based on gender. I think it goes both ways.
So let's say you're working on a personal project of some sort. This project is something that you will publish to the public. You then find out that a meteor is going to hit Earth after you pass away. Will you be more inclined to publish the project or not? And say why or why not?
I'm just going to live.
Yeah.
Like I have my community, I got the people around me. I'm just going to pour as much love into those people, projects or not. They got their own stuff going on if, it's all going to end. I guess like how quick is it happening?
It's gonna be, let's say 20 years after you pass away.
Oh, okay. Definitely putting it out there. More motivation to put it out there then.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel that if a project is coming to you as a download, something that you feel that you're called to do, that you should be putting all the power into making that happen. Because even if the meteor is coming to destroy us all, that somebody needed to hear that message or whatever that project is that you had to put out in that time frame. So that could help a lot of people.
I mean, at the end of it all, Earth is not going to last forever. Everything is going to disappear eventually, like long from now. So I don't see that as a reason to let that influence how you want to live your life.
Similarly to you, I think, it puts even more emphasis on the fact that I should finish this project and work on it and get whatever message it is that I have out there.
Oh, you want to?
Yeah.
If it was like happening tomorrow,
It's time to party, celebrate.
Right. Like 10, 20 years. Yeah, I'll put in the work and after.
I don't think there's a point. I understand the whole thing of like, maybe there's somebody that needs to hear it, but at the end of the day, I don't think that there's really going to be a point because they're not going to be here. So I would just kind of like, let's live my life and everyone makes the mistakes they're going to make and that's it.
I think I agree with y'all for sure that there is a point. I think that every soul has an evolution journey. And maybe that project could break down some of the blocks that somebody has in this lifetime to the divine, to coming as close as they can to that harmony with the divine. And I think anything that can help them get closer to that, even if it's all going to end in 20 years, I think it will definitely be beneficial to their soul's journey.
It's interesting because I feel like those of us that kind of resonate with that message, it's like our importance on serving others.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, my belief or belief system condemns the things in the Epstein files.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think any spiritual belief system should agree with that, what's happening in the Epstein files, but I won't judge, but I kind of am.
Yeah, anything that actively causes harm, especially to young people, I don't think any functional spiritual system would be able to condone that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say my spiritual beliefs specifically, but morally, because I don't let my spirituality dictate my life, and I don't let it apply rules to my life. But I still believe in like my rights and values. So I don't think it necessarily is dictated by my spirituality, but I do think it's.
I was gonna add to that. I don't think that it's like a spiritual or religious thing. It's definitely just a
for sure.
all of it for sure. This goes outside of the confines of any structure that we know. I have a background in anthropology and cultural studies, and something that's really interesting to me is that, you know, it's been my perspective is that these things are so normalized. Ritual sacrifice is so normalized back in the day. In ancient times, it was something that they did in order to literally get rain, you know? So it was so embedded in their belief system, spiritual or not. And so now I personally believe that we've been, you know, forced to forget about a lot of that stuff so that these things can go on behind closed doors. And when they do happen, we're so shocked. Because we can't even fathom something like that happening. You know?
Yeah.
So, do you agree when it happens back then, but you don't agree with it now, or what's the difference?
It's not really like an agree or disagree thing. It's more of just an acceptance of what is.
So, why would you accept it happening before for rain, but not now for money?
It's not that I think it's morally wrong to kill. I think it's morally wrong to harm, but I also have the awareness and the understanding of sometimes, especially here on Earth, that's how things happen. There's nothing that we can do to change it. We can advocate for it. We can say that it's wrong because we have the free will and the moral skills to be able to exert our opinion on it. But like, yeah, I disagree in both instances that we should harm or we should kill to gain in any way, monetarily, power, like whatever it is. It's not a good idea. But does it work? That's the question we should be asking. Why are they still doing it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's also important, like what you're saying, with looking at it from an anthropological, a historical lens of understanding history repeats itself. And if we continue those patterns of history repeating itself, then we are just perpetuating it instead of actually making some kind of change in ourselves.
As much as people want to call that satanic, if you've ever read into the Temple of Satan, they would not do anything close to what has happened in there. So using that as an excuse and that as a scapegoat was kind of wild to me. Like, yeah. I think it's just spiritual corruption. I don't think it has to be tied to any religion. Or...
I think culturally, especially in the West, we have a really nasty habit of like demonizing things that we don't understand because it's not normal for us. And yeah, I mean, that's just part of the culture. And so that's why I think there's so much importance behind, you know, traveling the world, expanding your horizons, broadening your perspectives, because you come to understand that not everyone in the world lives the same way that you do. And there's different customs for every single culture and belief system.
I think in a really zoomed out perspective of sacrifice and that kind of stuff in general, I think that there are certain entities on Earth and in spiritual realms that want to keep the collective in a state of fear and shame and sadness and anger and all of these things, and they understand that children are the most pure forms of divinity on Earth, and that is, and then when they tell us about these things, that's the easiest way to keep a collective of so many people in fear.
It shocked anyone to find out what was going on in the Epstein files, but I wasn't.
It didn't shock me at all. I have known that was going on for a really long time.
I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
So why is it not surprising to you guys?
My perspective, I literally studied rites, ritual, magic, and religion for my degree, so I have an understanding of how earthly things happen in terms of spirituality and religion and goddess and god worship. I just understand the practice of it. So that's why it wasn't surprising to me. I've always been very in tune with the magic.
I would say the exact same. I just understand how energy works and that there are some energies that want to keep us in these lower vibrational states of fear. And honestly, the devil and fear and shame and all of these lower vibrational energies to me are the exact same thing. I think they're interchangeable.
I was talking about being an activist. Like, I was part of the Occupy Wall Street movement back in the day, and like, with those conversations that we were having, it was just really just shining a light of knowing that there's corruption in our government, there's corruption in the system. So we know that there's something that is above all of that, that is kind of playing puppet master. So to see that was just more of a confirmation of what we've already been feeling.
We can also get, like, take all the spirituality out of it and, like, look at pattern recognition, micro expressions, the things that they say, the way that they behave. And, like, when you're at a certain point, like, say, billionaires, there's no reason for there to be billionaires. Like, that's already kind of like, what are they doing? That's enough money to help. And like, we have certain personalities and characters that have that ability to help and they don't. And it's very greedy. So like, kind of getting up to like a certain position of power and success and money doesn't really lead to good decisions being made out of kindness. So it's just, with me, I've experienced a lot of different types of people, and a lot of it's been traumatic. And you can, with pattern recognition, kind of recognize a dog when you see a dog.
So you think that rich people, once they get to that point, they're not deserving of having that much money and that they're bad because they have that much money?
Not all rich people, but you can look at their actions and you can look at what they're doing. Like, what charities are they funding without getting something back in return? You know, why is the homeless population increasing so much? Why are groceries so expensive? And I think that kind of points right back to corporations and the people that have had this power. America has the most expensive healthcare in the world. That's ridiculous. That could be fixed. These things could be fixed. And they're just not getting fixed because certain people like holding onto whatever they're holding onto it, whether they're aware of it or not. Like, they might be so detached, you know, but still it's like they're just not doing good things. They're not doing good things.
Yeah. And I don't think it necessarily, like, good and bad was objective. But one thing that you can say objectively is if you have that much money just sitting there when you could move it around and change people's lives, I feel like that just shows how greedy that person can be and their character.
Absolutely.
With what y'all just said, it really just makes me think of like our whole healthcare system of, we think it's for healthcare, but the doctors are really there to just make more money. And when it looks at herbalism, shamanism, community healers, all of that has been demonized to say, oh, that's witchcraft, don't mess with that. But it's like, that's what our people have been doing for so long, is being able to heal with the earth. And instead, they take all of that away, give it to the doctors, which sometimes are just there to take away your hope. So you don't think that you can heal without the Western medicine that's being prescribed.
I mean, even therapy was demonized. If you were in therapy, you were broken, you were bullied, and all this kind of stuff. Like, what kind of reality are we living in where therapy is demonized?
I would encourage everyone to look into the history of the American Medical Association. This happened in the early 19th century, where there were two schools. There was the Western allopathic medicine and then homeopathic medicine. And so, like, standardized Western medicine was supported by the American Medical Association. And they funded all of these universities. Don't quote me on this, but this is what I'm remembering. They funded all of these universities to where the only way you could get a doctor before your name is if you studied allopathic Western medicine. Homeopathic there was a whole propaganda thing about, oh, that's quackery. And that's why one of the reasons why our healthcare system is the way it is today.
A lot of it is also really heavily rooted in racism. A lot. And I think if you're correct, this is around the Industrial Revolution time.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So I blame that. The Industrial Revolution for a lot of our downfalls here in America.
Because it was easier to manufacture drugs.
Well, yeah, and then we're inventing, penicillin, like things that require oil, things.
And this also actually just makes me think of, because I study angels and saints and all that. I don't prescribe to one way, but it makes me think of Saint Damien and Cosmos, the twins. And those twins, they were healers, and they were also called the penniless twins because they did not take money for their healing. And when they came in to actually do medical healing for people, that they did it for free because they also wanted to connect with their spirituality and see that, okay, you need to integrate both your spiritual healing, because if we don't talk about our spiritual wounds, then that's what manifests into actual physical illnesses.
If you are at a certain state of wealth that you are responsible for taking care of other people, I feel I highly disagree with that, because I'm a very, very hard worker, and I'm trying to reach that ladder. Unfortunately, because of how things are structured here, I am kind of being pushed back down because I am expected to help people that aren't trying to help themselves. So I guess I'm kind of, I don't disagree with, I disagree with that part of it for sure.
I'll say I am unemployed, and I've been unemployed for 8 months, and that hasn't stopped me from giving back to my community. So if I had more money, I could do far more.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily anybody's responsibility, but if you can reduce suffering, I don't see why you wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't think it's any black or white answer yet again. It's just a moral thing. You decide whether or not you feel like it's a right thing, regardless of however much money you have. I think where we're coming from is that if you have a exorbitant amount of wealth, it is morally wrong to not redistribute that in ways that helps the community.
Yeah.
I also feel that, like, when it comes to making money and rising up, and that's good for everybody, abundance for everyone. But if the way that you're getting to that abundance is to step on the backs of other people and push other people down, that's where I see that there's harm in that.
And also with these like corporations and especially politicians, their money comes from the people. Right. And so like and again, it's not all wealthy people. I do know a few wealthy people that do give in, and like they have an abundance, and it's the abundance that they have in which they give from. That's just extra. That doesn't harm their way of living at all. Like maybe instead of buying 3 yachts, like give a little bit back into the people in which you are getting the income from. Credit cards and things like that. They collect pennies off of every transaction and payment. That again comes from the people. So the money comes from us, and if the people weren't buying things and paying taxes, where would a lot of those positions of like specific power and authority to be able to dictate certain things get their income from?
I also want to speak directly to you in the sense to respond to you about talking about how you're a nurture and you've worked so hard, but the system is not set up for you to succeed either if you're morally obligated to support others who aren't trying as hard as you say. Like, I feel like, yes, that's the part that needs to be pointed out, is that the system isn't built for you. I would be careful aligning your success with those of billionaires because it's not the same. The system is built for them, and you honestly have to just think about, are you a billionaire? And if you are, I'd be really surprised. But it's just, there's a different, it's the comparison that can't even be made because it's so much more wealth that we're talking about. But I applaud you for being a woman of color, and going after your dreams and making wealth for yourself in a system that is deeply broken. And I guess if anything I say, like, just reflect a little bit on why it is that you want to align yourself with a billionaire, because I don't think that that's something that is healthy for anybody with any wealth to do, because like we're saying, it is a little morally bankrupt to be that intensely wealthy. I think, yes, be rich, abundance, make as much money as you can, generational wealth. How you go about that and what you choose to do with it ultimately decide the kind of person you are.
Everybody started somewhere, right? Even the millionaires and billionaires had to go through different steps to get to that point. Of course, some of them stepped on other people to get to that point. I'm not saying I'm trying to do that at all, but definitely there's steps to it. That millionaire was in the 100, 200,000 a year, and then they went up to that $1 million, $1 billion, amount. But I agree with what you were saying, that it has to do with morality at the end of the day, right? So what type of person are you once you get to that point? Instead of buying the 3 yachts, like, are you still the good person that you were when you started, and now you have that abundance, and are you able to do that? In my case, yes, I do want to have the most money I will ever imagine in my life, because I'm going to work very hard for that. But at the end of the day, am I still going to be that same person when I reach that goal, or am I going to be the person that was here trying to work against the system? So it goes both ways, right? Once you get to that point, are you going to be that person, or are you going to be the other person?